is Sunday, March 3rd already, 2024. And we just came from a Shabbos, so Shavua Tov, good week. And last time in the Tanya, last lesson, we learned about interaction between different worlds, spiritual worlds, world of Asiya, Yetzirah, Beriah, Atzilut, and ultimately Ein Sof. And within each one, we discussed how the 10 Sfirot, starting from Keter and down, so Chochmah, Bina, Dat, Hesed, Gevurah, Netzachot, Yesod, and Malchut, how they communicate to us. And we talked about situations where that the essence of the Jewish soul remains in any Jew, no matter where he is, a tzaddik or binoni or Russia, and even the person who completely denounced Judaism or completely stays away from that, even for that person, that spark of Judaism remains. The Tanya now is going through dynamics, how in the situations where all of a sudden, completely non-observant Jew, when the Nazi officer puts a gun to his head and tells him, tell me that Judaism, that everything is wrong with Judaism, that you're not Jewish, that you're going to spit in the Torah scroll. And the guy, completely non-religious, declines to do that and takes a bullet. And actually, halacha, the Torah, allows you to do that. In case you're saving your life, you can do. The only three cardinal sins the person cannot do and take a bullet, which is idolatry, idol worshipping, and murder. In other words, you cannot take the gun. The Nazi officer gives you a gun and says, shoot this guy, and you go free. That you cannot do. His blood is no less red than yours. But if somebody tells you, God forbid, that tell me that Judaism is wrong and bad, and then spare your life, you say that. And the rules slightly differ if it's in a public setting versus private setting, but fundamentally saving life overrides all the commandments, and yet completely non-observant Jew takes a bullet. History during the World War, documented cases when people say, the guy now went to the synagogue, doesn't know anything about Judaism, doesn't know the holiday, nothing. He knows he's Jewish, but he doesn't know anything else about Judaism, and yet. So how does it work? So the Tanya is saying normally, and we talked about the 10 Sfirot, normally the God's light, Ein Sof, comes through the world, filtering through layer of the upper world. So the Atzilut, which is emanation. You just have an inkling of something. And then through the Beriah, which is creation. So something, I need to call my father. I need to call my sister. I need to call my mother. I need to call my son. And then the world of Yetzirah, which is formation. I'm not going to say, okay, I'm going to do that next week. I have not to forget that. And then in the world of Asiya. And then within each this world, when action takes place, you do that something. And then through the 10th Sfirot, that goes through these layers from an upper layer of upper Sphira of Keter, and down filtering light becomes less bright, so you can see what you need to do, and your action becomes more actionable. But for those, so in other words, it has to go from Keter to Chochmah, then to Bina. Chochmah is that inkling, then realization, understanding, and then action. It's a rational love of God, the rational love of human beings, the rational expression. This is your mind taking over the heart. This is your divine soul filtering down into the right side of the heart, and then into the left side of the heart, taking control of animalistic soul, of animal soul, and eventually come into action. This is how normally it happens. But in normal day-to-day activities, for Russia, bad person, who doesn't follow Torah at all, really treats people bad, robs banks, cheats, that's very, very bad person. That person no longer goes through this process, because his mind is taken over by the bad inclinations, and because of that, he lost that ability to do that. But he still have a short circuit. In the extreme dire situation I just described, the Ein Sof goes directly into the Chokhmah. The Chokhmah connects the upper Sphira, Chokhmah, directly goes through the Keter to the Ein Sof, directly. And the feeling of my Jewishness doesn't allow me to spit in the Torah in these rare extreme circumstances becomes something that has, Tanya explained, beyond rational. It's not something you understand, well, I'm Jewish, I'm supposed to stand by the Torah. No, all these feelings, just imagine a situation, Hatz v'Chalila, where the people were in that situation, concentration camp. In the Middle Ages, when the Cossacks would rape and murder and pogrom the villages, and yet people stick to the Torah. Not all of them. Not all of them were super religious. Many of them were not even religious. Maybe some of them lived in areas that they completely forgot about their Jewishness. They knew they were Jewish, they knew that, but they didn't know what it means. And yet at the time when the ultimate test comes to them, they passed the test. That goes to subconscious level. We don't understand why. And those cases are the proof that our Jewish soul, the spark of it exists, because otherwise no rational way to justify such behavior of standing by the Torah, even though Torah and Halacha and the Jewish law allows you to violate the rules to save your life, even when it allows. I'm not talking about the cases where it's not allowed. When Nazi tells you, God forbid, you have to rape your sister, and then you have to go free. You cannot do that. But even in the cases where they want you to do something completely allowable by the Torah, but against the Torah, but Torah allows you to do it. Torah says, go ahead, desecrate me to save your life. You can't do that. Torah allows you to save your life. Torah doesn't make the world such that it's impossible to live. And that characteristic in every Jew, in all of us, remains. So then Tanya, chapter 20, so we'll be coming to next, out of 53, the 20th chapter, we just did 19, and Tanya is asking, but why that doesn't happen in the normal circumstances? Why in normal circumstances the person denies his Jewishness, doesn't care, says, listen, if it's not going to improve my golf game, why do I need to go to the Torah class? Okay? Or it doesn't help me with my finances. What does this Talmud, what does this Torah book help me to make more money? What does it make me to help me to become healthier? Does it help me to become, I need to go to the gym. I need to go to the sports. I need to go skiing, golfing, jumping, enjoying myself. Do all this like. Does Torah help me with that? And that's personal rationalizations. That's not to be critical about, but that's just what some people live their lives. Good people, and yet hold no connection to the Judaism. Obviously, their generation, not obviously, but usually, their children and grandchildren go further removed. It can lead, obviously, like in America, 70% of people intermarry, and eventually the Jewish lineage stops. The girl marries non-Jewish guy, the children still Jewish, but then half of them, the guys marry non-Jewish girls, and the children become non-Jewish. I'm not saying it to be critical. They may be very happy and good families, but the Jewishness eventually stops. And then that ability to innately connect to the Torah, to your root, to your Jewish soul roots, no longer there. So that's always the danger to eventually, then that person, 10 generations later, when he is, God forbid, in front of the Nazi and tells spit in the Torah, he will, to save his life, without reservations. He probably feel it's not appropriate, it's not nice, I shouldn't be doing that, he should be forcing me to do it. I respect Jews, but I'm not Jewish, and I'll spit in the Torah to save my life, and then later on he'll say, well, you know, when people separate them in the, when the hijackers get the group of people and say Jews to the right and non-Jews to the left, non-Jews go to the left. They're not supposed to stick with the Jews to sacrifice their life. But there are cases when even non-Jews will say, there was a famous, I think, in Entebbe, the pilot remained with a Jewish group. Now, pilot wasn't Jewish, and yet probably had some Jewish roots, Jewish soul remained in him. Maybe he didn't even know it. That tell him, oh, you can say maybe it was just a decent human being, non-Jewish. Said, this is my people, this is the passengers I'm responsible, I'm sticking with them. Perhaps it had no connection to what we're talking about. There's a wonderful, righteous, non-Jewish people in the world, many of them. I wish more of them were demonstrating these days about barbarism that the Hamas has done to Jews in October 7th, when rape and pillage and burn people. I wish that more people would stand up, more good non-Jewish people also stand to support Israel. Yet we see that many protest against Israeli natural action to defend itself. And all the history of the Jewish identity gets lost, as some political observers call it, useful idiots, people who don't even know where is Israel exactly, where is Palestine, where is this Middle East. I don't know. I just live in, northern New Jersey or South Dakota or whatever, and I know it's somewhere far. I watch it on TV, but to tell the truth, I have no idea what it is. Well, that's absolute ignorance, and nothing comes down from your soul to the side of reality, the soul of truth, of historical dynamics, what actually happens in the world. So those feelings exist, but for the Jews, we have this remaining spark that comes short-circuited, directly from God, directly from supreme light, bypassing all rationality, all thinking, all thoughts. Just the person just does it. That's where it comes from. So it's no surprise when you look at the next time. How come the guy or the girl did that? I mean, there was nothing Jewish. They were raised non-Jewish as a Jews, but they were raised without any Jewish input, and yet all of a sudden something happened. Something hit them. Somebody in a market, somebody in a bus, somebody at work mentioned something about dirty Jews, and all of a sudden this guy who had no connection, something clicked, and he said, I better start thinking who my parents were, who my grandparents, what my history. I'm Jewish. How come I neglected it for so many years? It happened to some people, no matter how far they fall away from the Jewish roots. Something awakens them, and that something is that inner core of the Jewish soul that's hidden so far beyond even subconscious. It's not even subconscious feeling. It's something even more than that. That is the source of the love of God, and that source is awakened in a crisis situation, but somehow dormant, asleep. Not God, dormant, asleep in a normal day-to-day non-crisis situation. The question is, how do I awaken that? How do you awaken it? Is it the person cannot lift himself by the hair? So something must happen in a normal situation, non-critical, that all of a sudden this non-believing Jew, so to speak, I'm not even talking believing in God per se, but not feeling the need to identify with his Jewish or her Jewish identity. How does this get awakened? And to some people, and to some people not. In a normal situation, day to day, in a nice, good, sunny day, you're sitting on the beach, and all of a sudden you think about it and think, I better go to the synagogue. I better go to, at least sometimes, get together with fellow Jewish brethren, sisters and brothers, and try to understand a little bit more about my background, about who I am, before I go to some other world or outside of this world, whichever way, whether you believe in afterlife or don't believe in afterlife, or whether you are converted Christian or non-converted into the Christianity, that doesn't matter. Or any other religion, any other source, or the naturalist religion. We're all human beings. We're all under the skies. I don't need to be Jewish necessarily, because no matter who I am, I'm a human being, I'm a good human being. That's what matters. Well, that matters to you maybe, but to your grandchildren and great-grandchildren, they will not think even that way. It will disappear if it's not cultured and somehow reached to. So how that happens, that's a good process. That's a good thought, good ideas, and we'll talk about it. We'll talk about tomorrow. In the meantime, enjoy your day, Shavua Tov, have a great week, have a good time, and let peace and balance of life and inner peace, outer and inner peace be with you. Baruch Hashem. Thank God. See you tomorrow.